The Galactic Assembly was a place where hundreds of species met every cycle. The hall was bright, wide, and filled with gentle lights that adjusted to the comfort of every being inside. On most days, the atmosphere was quiet and respectful. Representatives spoke with calm voices, shared news from their homeworlds, and discussed developments in science, trade, and culture. But on this particular day, something unusual floated into the center of the discussion. Someone had brought up humanity's old fleet. It started when a delegate from the Lurian sector asked a playful question about Earth's ancient ship museums. The delegate had not meant anything harsh. In his culture, it was common to tease friends lightly, especially when talking about old technology. His tone was light, almost cheerful, and he assumed humans would find it funny too. But the reaction around the room was stronger than he expected. Many delegates chuckled softly. Others exchanged amused looks. A few leaned back in their seats, smiling at the memory of the images they had once seen. Massive human ships floating in silent orbits around Earth and its moon, covered in patches of rust-like discoloration and old paint. "Do humans really keep those ships active?" one delegate asked in a polite but curious tone. "I heard they haven't upgraded them in nearly a century," another added. "Perhaps Earth keeps them for decoration," someone joked gently. None of the comments were insulting, yet the atmosphere carried a cloud of amusement. It was the kind of laughter people shared when looking at an old device that still worked but belonged in a museum rather than a fleet. In the middle of the hall sat Aaron Hale, a young human diplomat. He was calm, observant, and rarely reacted quickly. His expression remained steady as he listened to the comments around him. He didn't frown. He didn't defend. He simply observed. Aaron was known for his quiet nature. While many diplomats spoke with elaborate gestures or strong voices, Aaron preferred soft tones and thoughtful pauses. Some thought he was shy. Others thought he lacked confidence. But those who worked closely with him knew the truth. Aaron simply listened more than he spoke. On this day, he listened carefully. Around him, conversations grew lively as more delegates shared their impressions of Earth's fleet. A tall, silver-skinned envoy from the Aralon cluster described the ships as historical sculptures. A representative from the Valari star group said they looked peaceful and harmless. A few even complimented Earth for preserving its history so well. Aaron appreciated the politeness in their comments. None of them intended disrespect. They simply didn't understand. And how could they? Only a handful of humans knew the truth behind those ships. Aaron folded his hands on the smooth table in front of him. The surface glowed faintly, displaying the agenda items for the meeting. But the current topic had drifted far from the schedule. He wondered how much he should say. Across the room, the assembly chair tapped a transparent panel, trying to bring order back. "We appreciate everyone's interest in Earth's historical fleet," the chair said with a warm smile. "However, we should return to today's primary agenda, interstellar communication standards." But before the discussion could shift, another delegate raised a gentle question. "Representative Aaron," she asked, "may we ask why humanity continues to keep those ships stationed around your planet? Many worlds recycle old fleets, some preserve one or two for display, yet Earth maintains dozens." Her tone was respectful, genuinely curious. All eyes turned toward Aaron. He took a breath, calm and unhurried. His voice was soft but clear when he spoke. "Those ships are part of our heritage," he said. "They were built by a remarkable generation of engineers. Removing them felt unnecessary, so we chose to leave them in orbit." It was an answer, but not a detailed one. And he knew that. A few delegates nodded politely. Others assumed his reply meant the ships were simply sentimental artifacts. Aaron did not correct them. He knew the truth was far more complex, something most species would not believe unless they saw it themselves. The old fleet was not abandoned. It was not inactive. It was not even outdated. It was resting. Later that day, Aaron walked through one of the assembly's long glass corridors. The walkway curved around the station's outer ring, offering a breathtaking view of distant stars. The soft hum of the station filled the background like a gentle song. He enjoyed moments like this, quiet, open, unhurried. As he walked, he overheard a pair of delegates speaking casually nearby. "I passed Earth last cycle," one said. "The ships truly look ancient." "It must be peaceful living under such calm skies." "Yes," the other replied. "Humans are unusual. They seem to find comfort in old things." The two delegates continued walking, unaware that Aaron had heard them. Aaron smiled faintly. He didn't take offense. Their words were not wrong. Humans did find comfort in history, in memories, in old stories that survived across generations. Humans valued things that endured over time, things that stood quietly without drawing attention. But the fleet was not simply a memory. It had purpose, deep, quiet purpose. As Aaron reached the next corridor, a holographic window displayed live visuals from various sectors of space. He paused in front of the image labeled Earth Perimeter. The view showed the blue planet, bright and peaceful, and around it, in stable orbits, floated dozens of large vessels. Some were circular, some long and narrow, some shaped like wide triangles with curved edges. Each one looked worn but dignified. To an outsider, they seemed old. To Aaron, they looked like old friends waiting patiently. He studied the ships, remembering the stories he had learned as a child. Tales of a time when humanity built things for endurance rather than show. Ships crafted to survive unknown regions, silent storms, and long journeys without needing constant upgrades. Ships made with a philosophy different from today's fast development and constant replacements. "People laugh," Aaron whispered softly. "But if only they knew." He reached out and touched the holographic window. The ships continued their slow rotation around Earth, gentle and steady. Their lights were dim, barely visible, but still present, faint indicators of their watchful sleep. That evening, Aaron joined a private meeting with several human representatives. They gathered in a small conference room decorated with simple furniture. Humans tended to prefer modest spaces, even in places of prestige. The group greeted Aaron warmly. "We heard the assembly discuss the fleet today," an older diplomat remarked. Aaron nodded. "It came up unexpectedly, mostly light-hearted comments." "And your reply?" another asked. "I kept it simple." The older diplomat leaned back. "Good. This is not the time to reveal anything more." Aaron agreed. Humanity had chosen a path of quiet preparation. Their old fleet was part of a wider system, one connected to deep space monitoring, gravitational pattern reading, and energy field balancing. The ships held mechanisms that modern engineers found unnecessary, but ancient designers had considered essential. The universe was peaceful now, but past generations had believed in preparing for unknown shifts, cosmic changes, natural distortions, or unexpected anomalies. The fleet had been built not for display, not for conflict, but for stability. Most of the galaxy did not know this. "Let them laugh," one of the senior diplomats said gently. "Laughter means they feel safe. And safety is something those ships quietly help maintain." Aaron nodded again. The meeting continued with other topics, but his mind stayed with the fleet, those silent giants drifting in their patient circles around Earth. Late at night, Aaron returned to his quiet quarters. The window beside his desk displayed the stars once again, brighter than before. He prepared a cup of warm herbal tea and sat down, feeling the calm of the station settling around him. He activated his personal console. A coded window appeared, accessible only to authorized humans. It displayed a simple message: fleet status, rest mode, full sync, maintained. Aaron watched as soft waves of blue light pulsed across the screen, signals exchanged between the ships and Earth. Everything was calm, everything was balanced. He closed the message gently. In the halls of the assembly, aliens laughed with good hearts, unaware of the depth beneath the surface. They found amusement in what they believed was outdated. But Aaron knew the truth. The laughter would not last much longer. Something was approaching. The fleet would awaken soon, and when it did, the galaxy would learn that humanity's calmest creations were also its most extraordinary. The next morning in the Galactic Assembly began like any other. Delegates moved through the station's bright corridors, greeting one another with gentle nods or soft waves. Lights shifted to suit each species' comfort, creating a patchwork of colors that danced across the polished floors. It was a calm, peaceful start, exactly how the assembly liked its days to begin. But that calm did not last. Halfway through the first session, soft alerts blinked on every delegate's desk. At first, no one paid much attention. The small signals often indicated routine updates, trade agreements finalized, travel routes adjusted, or atmospheric readings corrected. But these alerts didn't disappear. They multiplied. One by one, more delegates tapped their screens. Mild confusion spread across the room. The assembly chair raised an eyebrow. "It seems we are receiving a high volume of notifications today," she remarked cautiously. "Please check if these updates relate to your regions." But they did not. A delegate from the Qatari region glanced up, puzzled. "These signals appear to be coming from Earth's orbital zones," he said gently. Another delegate checked her display. "I am seeing something similar. It appears old vessels around Earth are transmitting again." The word "old" returned like an echo from the previous day. Within minutes, dozens of delegates read the same message. Unusual activation detected in Earth's historical fleet. Signal strength rising. Formation shift observed. Awaiting clarification from human representatives. A soft murmur spread through the room. It wasn't laughter this time. It was curiosity, mixed with a quiet sense of uncertainty. Aaron Hale, seated calmly in his usual place, had already opened the detailed report on his console. His expression remained neutral, but inside he felt a shift. He had known the fleet would awaken soon, but he did not expect it to happen so suddenly or so synchronously. The old ships were done sleeping. The assembly chair looked toward him. "Representative Aaron," she said politely, "would you like to provide a statement?" Aaron stood slowly. His voice remained gentle. "There is no reason for concern. Earth's orbital vessels occasionally adjust their systems. It is normal for them to synchronize their internal functions from time to time." A few delegates nodded. They trusted him. Others looked slightly confused. One leaned forward. "Representative Aaron, the vessels are aligning in a structured formation. It seems organized." Aaron offered a soft, reassuring smile. "Yes, they were built to act in harmony." Before more questions could arise, the alerts chimed again, this time stronger. The holographic screens in the center of the room lit up with live footage from Earth's orbital region. The old ships were glowing. Their hulls shimmered with soft waves of light, like gentle pulses of breath. Some ships emitted broad rings of energy that floated outward peacefully, creating smooth patterns in the surrounding space. Others adjusted their orientation with slow, measured movements, as if positioning themselves with careful purpose. The room fell silent. These were not the drifting relics the delegates remembered. They looked alive, calm and controlled, yet unquestionably active. The chair finally spoke. "This is unexpected." Aaron kept his expression composed. "The fleet is simply initiating its synchronization cycle." "And this cycle includes glowing hulls?" a delegate asked in surprise. Aaron nodded once. Those are surface stabilizers. They help balance outer energy fields. The statement was true, but vague enough not to raise deeper questions. Humans were trained to speak about the fleet with gentle ambiguity unless a full explanation was required. A tall ambassador named Feline leaned in, her silver eyes sharp with interest. "Humanity's old vessels appear far more capable than we were led to believe," Oren replied softly. "Their design is unique. That is all." Outside the assembly hall, the station buzzed with activity. News panels updated constantly, showing live shots of the glowing ships. Groups of observers gathered near transparent windows, watching as the visuals played across holographic screens. Some species found the display beautiful. "They move like dancers," one delegate whispered. Others felt cautious. "It is unusual for a fleet of that age to perform such precise actions," another remarked. No one laughed anymore. A small group of scientists approached Oren in one of the corridors. Their expressions were polite but filled with curiosity. "Representative Oren," one asked, "can we request additional data? The ship's energy readings are unfamiliar. We cannot identify the source." Oren bowed his head respectfully. "I will send your request to Earth. Please understand that some specifications may be restricted." The scientists accepted this with understanding. They knew many worlds kept certain technologies private, especially older systems that had not been widely studied. But one scientist lingered. She was young, with soft green markings along her cheeks. Her species displayed their emotions through these glowing lines, and hers were bright with excitement. "Your ships," she said gently. "They do not behave like old machines. They seem aware." Aaron paused, choosing his words carefully. "They were designed to react to subtle changes in space. That may give the impression of awareness." She nodded thoughtfully but didn't look fully convinced. Aaron had met many researchers like her, those who sensed answers behind polite explanations. But this was not the time to reveal more. Meanwhile, far from the assembly station, in the quiet orbit of Earth, the old fleet continued its awakening. The ships shifted their formations with slow precision, like a constellation rearranging itself. Their lights pulsed in patterns that echoed across the void. The energy waves they released were gentle, creating smooth ripples that extended far outward but caused no disturbance. A tiny maintenance satellite drifted nearby, recording everything. Its sensors captured data that Earth's command center reviewed in real time. Inside a control room on Earth, a team of analysts watched the screens. "It has been decades since they aligned like this," one analyst whispered. Another nodded. "The timing matches predictions from early logs. Something in deep space must be shifting." A senior coordinator looked at the glowing fleet on the screen. "The ships are preparing. They have sensed something we haven't detected yet." Nobody spoke after that. Everyone knew the old fleet did not activate without reason. Back in the assembly, delegates reviewed new readings. The glowing patterns from the ships extended far out, forming a soft, grid-like shape in space. It wasn't threatening. In fact, it looked almost peaceful, like a guardian net spreading calm energy outward. But it was unusual. A representative from the Dalari regions voiced the question silently present in many minds. "Representative Arin, why were we never told these vessels could do this?" Arin looked around the room, meeting their gazes respectfully. "Because they rarely need to," he said. "The fleet was built to respond only when necessary." "And now is necessary?" someone asked. Arin hesitated, not out of fear, but out of careful thought. He finally replied with a calm, steady voice, "The fleet responds to subtle changes in space. It seems they have detected something that requires their attention." "What kind of changes?" a delegate asked. Arin folded his hands. "I do not know, but the fleet always acts with purpose and caution." His honesty did not alarm the room. It simply deepened their curiosity. The glowing ships on the screens shifted once more, forming a shape that resembled a wide arc extending toward deep space. A gentle murmur spread. "They're pointing at something," someone whispered. Aaron felt a small chill of realization. Yes, they were. When Aaron returned to his quarters later that evening, he immediately activated his secure console. A new message appeared, marked with the highest human authorization. Only a few diplomats ever saw such notifications. Deep space reading detected. Pattern consistent with forecasted phenomenon. Fleet initiating Stage 2 orientation. Aaron leaned back slowly. So it was happening. The fleet had sensed the shift. The same one ancient designers had predicted generations ago. Something subtle, something cosmic, something not harmful but deeply unusual was approaching. The fleet was preparing to balance it. Outside his window, the stars appeared calm and ordinary. But beyond them, something was stirring. And the galaxy had no idea what the old human fleet was truly meant for. Not yet. For the next several days, the Galactic Assembly watched the glowing fleet with steady curiosity. What began as mild interest had grown into a full observation effort. Delegates discussed the ships during meals, in hallways, and even in private messages to their homeworlds. Everyone wanted to understand why Earth's old vessels were suddenly so active. The footage displayed in the assembly hall showed the ships moving in a slow, coordinated pattern. They formed smooth curves, straight lines, and wide arcs across the sky, shapes that looked intentional, almost like a soft dance of light. Some species found the display soothing, others found it mysterious. But no one called the fleet obsolete anymore. As the ships settled into their new formation, a new message appeared on the delegates' screens. Stage 2 synchronization complete. Long-range energy patterns detected. Monitoring recommended. The chair furrowed her brow. "Earth, please clarify. What does this mean?" But Aaron Hale was calm as ever. "It means the fleet is reading something from far away," he explained. "Something that may be unusual, but not harmful." His voice was steady, his expression gentle. Yet, deep inside, Aaron felt something shift. He knew the ancient predictions. He knew the fleet's purpose. Something was coming from deep space, something natural, something cosmic, something old, not dangerous, but powerful in ways most species did not study anymore. A cosmic tide, a wave of energy, a slow, massive shift in the deep fabric of space. The fleet had been built for this moment. Later that afternoon, the assembly held a special meeting. A large holographic projection hovered in the center of the room, showing a sphere of soft blue lines that represented space around Earth. Smooth pulses moved across the sphere, coming from a distant region of the galaxy. Scientists from several species stood to speak. A soft-spoken researcher named Vela tapped her datapad. "We believe these pulses are natural. They resemble the energy patterns found near ancient star clusters." A delegate asked, "Are they dangerous?" "No," Vela said with confidence. "They are gentle, similar to energy waves we sometimes detect from nebula storms. But these waves are unusually large and unusually coordinated." Another scientist added, "It is as if the energy is moving with purpose." That statement made the room quiet. Purpose? Energy waves did not usually behave that way. Aaron listened closely. He knew what the scientists were trying to understand. They were seeing the signals for the first time, analyzing them with fresh curiosity. But humanity had known about these waves for a long time. They were slow, predictable, and harmless, unless left unbalanced. Centuries ago, humans designed the old fleet to read these shifts, to listen to them, to gently guide them so they passed safely. But saying that out loud would cause confusion. Many species believed such cosmic reading was unnecessary. Others doubted a ship could influence something so large. Aaron stayed quiet. The scientists continued explaining their findings, pointing out how the energy waves were moving toward Earth's region of space. They were still far away, years away, but the fleet had sensed them early. The assembly chair finally turned to Aaron. "Representative Hale," she said softly, "it seems your fleet has detected something long before any of our sensors did. Can you tell us more about how they are doing this?" Aaron took a breath. His answer was measured. "They were built with old human engineering principles. Our ancestors believed in preparing for long-term cosmic shifts. The fleet's sensors are very sensitive." A delegate asked gently, "Can they manage something like this?" Aaron nodded without hesitation. "Yes, they were designed for this exact purpose." The room fell silent. Most species built ships for travel, or defense, or exploration. But ships designed to listen to the universe's quiet changes? Ships designed for harmony with space itself? That was rare. Some had never heard of such a thing. A thoughtful ambassador leaned forward. "Humanity hides many things." Aaron smiled politely. "Not hides. We simply wait for the right moment to speak." Back in his private quarters, Aaron opened his secure console again. More messages had arrived from Earth. Long-range shift confirmed. Fleet ready for orientation. Stage 3 will begin in 12 hours. Aaron sat still for a long moment. Stage 3. The stage that would show the fleet's true capability. He sipped his tea. The herbal warmth calmed him, even as thoughts filled his mind. Humans had prepared for this moment across generations. Ancient engineers, the quiet heroes of old Earth, had left behind systems more advanced than modern scientists often realized. The ships were not just machines. They were guardians of balance, built to listen, built to respond, built to keep space calm during its rare, massive shifts. And no one outside humanity knew it. Yet. Meanwhile, deep in space near Earth, the fleet began its next quiet transformation. Slow beams of soft light extended from each ship, connecting them like lines on a gentle map. The glow was pale and peaceful. The beams did not cut or disturb anything. Rather, they connected the ships into a smooth, unified grid. From above, the formation looked like a calm web of stars surrounding the planet. The beams pulsed lightly, sending information back and forth. A passing shuttle carrying travelers slowed down as they watched through their windows. One traveler gasped softly. "It looks like a protective net." Another whispered, "Or like the ships are singing to each other." No one felt fear, only wonder. The ships glowed brighter as Stage 3 neared. Back at the assembly, curiosity grew stronger. Delegates requested updates repeatedly, and observation rooms were packed. Even species known for peaceful indifference now showed interest. A representative from the Viresh collective asked, "Does Earth need assistance?" Aaron shook his head gently. "No. The fleet functions independently. They will not permit interference." "Interference?" Another delegate echoed. "Are they sensitive?" Aaron considered the question. "Yes," he answered honestly. "They follow rules set long ago. They prefer to act alone." This made sense to many species who valued tradition. Ships with old programming often had strict boundaries. But still, something felt unusual. A soft-voiced delegate asked, "Representative Hale, if these ships are capable of such coordinated activity, why were they not modernized?" Aaron smiled with soft pride. "Because modernization would have removed what makes them unique." The room fell quiet again. Sometimes the newest technology wasn't the strongest. Sometimes old things held deeper wisdom. Late into the night, Aaron walked the station's outer ring. The stars shone calmly. Ships arrived and departed, their soft engine trails glowing behind them. Aaron stopped at a window where several young delegates were gathered. "Do you know what the fleet is doing?" one of them asked with childlike excitement. Aaron gave a gentle nod. "They are preparing the space around Earth." "For what?" the delegate asked. "For a natural shift," Aaron replied. "A wave that moves through space every few centuries." The young delegate thought about this. "Like a season?" Aaron smiled warmly. "Exactly. Space has seasons too. Some last centuries, some last millennia. They change slowly, but they always come." The young delegate's eyes widened. "And your old ships can handle this?" "Yes," Aaron said softly. "They were made for it." The delegates looked at one another in awe. Aaron looked out into the stars. His voice lowered. "My ancestors believed that when the universe changes, it does not shout. It whispers. Only those who listen carefully can understand." And humanity had listened, quietly, patiently, for generations. 12 hours later, Stage 3 began. The fleet's lights brightened, flowing across each vessel like sunrise rippling over a calm sea. The beams connecting the ships grew more precise, forming circles and lines that shifted smoothly around Earth. Every species in the assembly watched in respectful silence. This was no display, no show, no performance. It was preparation, ancient, graceful, precise. Aaron stood at his desk as the holographic display updated. Stage 3 active. Stabilization grid forming. Energy readings increasing. Delegates looked to him for reassurance. Aaron spoke softly. "The fleet is creating a field that will help the incoming wave pass safely. It is an old technique, but very effective." "Does this wave cause harm?" someone asked. Aaron shook his head. "No, it simply creates imbalance for a short time. The fleet helps keep everything steady." "And after that?" another delegate asked. Aaron smiled gently. "After that, everything returns to normal." The delegates exhaled softly in relief. But even with his calm words, the truth still lay deeper. The wave was bigger than predicted, and the fleet would need all its strength. The next stage would reveal even more. The galaxy was about to learn just how extraordinary humanity's obsolete fleet truly was. The quiet hall felt larger than anything the alien girl had seen before. Its wide floor stretched so far that even her sharp vision couldn't measure the distance. Soft white lights shone from the ceiling, and the air inside felt fresh, almost like a new world. She stepped forward slowly, her shoes making small echoes that faded into the silence. Behind her, the human boy followed with careful steps, not wanting to disturb the peaceful space. The girl looked around with curious eyes. She had walked through many training rooms and research areas on her home station, but this place was different. It felt as if it had a purpose she didn't understand yet. She placed her hand on the smooth wall, noticing the gentle warmth it carried. The boy watched her quietly, trying to guess what she was thinking, but she kept her expression calm and unreadable. As they walked deeper into the hall, they reached a long row of circular panels set neatly into the floor. Each one had a faint glow. The girl stopped beside one and crouched, examining its outline. The boy waited beside her, wondering if she recognized the technology, but she shook her head lightly. "No," she said, "this design is not from my people." The boy nodded. "It's not human either." Their eyes met. For a moment, neither of them knew what to say. They were two young beings from very different worlds, standing inside a place that belonged to neither of them. Yet somehow, the hall felt like it was expecting them. The girl straightened and walked forward again. Her steps were calm, but her heart carried a quiet excitement. She liked unknown spaces. They reminded her that the universe was bigger than her fears. bigger than the expectations her leaders had placed on her. In unknown places, she felt free. The boy followed, sometimes glancing over his shoulder, as if expecting someone to appear behind them. "Do you think we're supposed to be here?" he asked softly. "I don't know," she replied, "but this place is not dangerous." He smiled nervously. "You say that like you can feel it." "I can," she answered. She didn't explain how. Only her people understood the sense that helped them read energy in the air. She didn't know how humans would react if she told them, so she kept it simple. They reached the center of the hall. A circular table stood there, glowing softly with shifting patterns. The girl leaned over it. The patterns changed the moment her fingers came close, swirling into shapes that looked like stars. The boy gasped. "It's reacting to you." She pulled her hand back. The patterns dimmed as if resting again. She looked at the boy, then at the table. "Maybe it reacts to anyone," she said quietly. "Try," he suggested, stepping forward. He placed his hand above the surface. A soft pulse of light rose, but this time the pattern turned into lines instead of stars. They moved like currents on a map. The girl watched carefully, her expression turning thoughtful. "It's showing you something different than me," she observed. "Why?" he asked. She did not answer immediately. Her mind was busy connecting tiny pieces of information: the room, the panels, the glowing patterns, the different reactions. It reminded her of ancient training halls her mother once mentioned, places designed to teach, places that changed depending on the person inside. "It is studying us," she finally said softly. The boy froze. "Studying?" "Yes. Observing, maybe measuring." He stepped back slightly, unsure whether to be concerned or curious. But the girl's calm expression reassured him. She didn't look worried. She looked thoughtful, almost impressed. The table dimmed again, and another soft hum filled the room. Slowly, the panels on the floor began lighting up one by one. The girl turned, her eyes widening slightly as a tall structure rose from the ground. It looked like a pillar of light, but as it stabilized, details began forming: smooth metal, shifting symbols, and a clear surface at its center. The boy whispered, "Is it a screen?" "Not like any I have seen," she said. The screen flickered, and then displayed two shapes, one matching the girl's silhouette, the other matching the boy's. They were simple outlines, drawn with light. As the two watched, the outlines began filling with soft colors that represented their energy signatures. The girl recognized hers immediately: calm, focused, bright. The boy's was different: warm, steady, and gentle. The pillar divided itself into two glowing paths, one for each signature. The lines rose like floating threads, weaving into symbols neither of them understood. The boy stared with wide eyes. "What does it mean?" The girl shook her head slowly. "I'm not sure, but it is not showing danger. It is showing information." They watched the symbols shift until they formed two final images. The girl's became a star with many branches, and the boy's became a shape like a shield. The symbols hovered for several seconds, then faded into the air. The girl blinked. "It is giving us roles." "Roles?" the boy repeated. "Like jobs?" "Not jobs," she said thoughtfully. "More like qualities it sees in us." He looked at her symbol again. "A star with many branches. That sounds complicated." She frowned slightly. "Maybe, or it means something about choices. A star can shine in many directions." "And a shield?" he asked. She turned to look at him. "A shield protects. Maybe that is what it sees in you." The boy's cheeks warmed with a shy smile. "I don't know if I'm that strong." "You don't have to be strong," she answered gently. "Just steady." He looked away for a moment, almost embarrassed. He was not used to someone saying something kind so calmly. But the girl meant it. She did not flatter people. She only said what she truly believed. Before they could speak again, the lights in the room shifted into a soft blue tone. A new panel slid open from the wall. Inside it were two small crystal-like pieces, shaped differently, one sharp and clear like a shard of ice, the other smooth and round like a drop of water. The girl stepped closer. "These are for us," she said. "How do you know?" the boy asked. "They have our symbols on them," she replied, pointing to the tiny markings. She reached for the shard-shaped piece, and it warmed in her hand. The moment she touched it, something changed in the air around her. It felt like the hall recognized her fully now, as if accepting her presence. The boy picked up the round piece. It glowed faintly in his palm. He felt a soft vibration, gentle and calm, almost like a heartbeat, not loud, but comforting. The girl examined her shard. "These are keys," she said softly. "Keys?" he repeated. "To what?" She looked around the hall again, noticing a door at the far end that had been invisible before. Its outline shivered with light, waiting for something, waiting for them. "Maybe to the next part of this place," she said. There was excitement in her voice this time, a quiet spark she hadn't shown before. The boy felt it too. They had come here by accident, but now it felt like they were part of something larger, something they did not fully understand yet. The girl walked toward the door. The boy followed, holding his glowing piece carefully. When they reached the entrance, the symbols on their crystals lit up at the same time. The door responded immediately, sliding open with a soft whisper of air. Behind it was a long, bright corridor, not threatening but mysterious, filled with floating shapes of light that hovered like silent guides. The girl stepped through first. She turned to the boy and offered a small nod. "We go together." He nodded back. "Yes, together." They walked forward side by side, entering a new part of the unknown hall. Whatever waited for them inside, they would face it, not as two strangers from two distant worlds, but as partners who were beginning to trust each other. And for the first time since entering the hall, the girl allowed herself a small, genuine smile. The new corridor felt alive the moment they stepped inside. The air was warm, almost like sunlight, even though no sun was present. Thin trails of glowing particles drifted around them, moving softly as if they were welcoming the two visitors. The alien girl watched the lights with quiet interest, while the human boy walked beside her with slow, careful steps. The corridor stretched far ahead, but it didn't feel empty. Every step they took made the floating lights shift gently, forming small patterns that glowed brighter when the girl passed near them. She held her crystal shard in her hand, and the warm glow from it connected softly with the lights in the corridor. It felt as though the entire place recognized her presence. The boy held his round crystal too. It pulsed in a steady rhythm, almost like a calm heartbeat. Whenever he stepped too close to the wall, the smooth surface shimmered with soft ripples, reacting to the calm energy of his crystal. He wasn't sure what the hall wanted, but he could feel that nothing here wished to harm them. As they walked deeper, the girl slowed her pace. She turned her head slightly, listening to something only she could sense. "What is it?" the boy asked gently. "The hall is guiding us," she answered quietly. "But not in a direct way. It is showing paths through feelings." He blinked in surprise. "Feelings?" She nodded. "My people learn to read energy. This place has energy everywhere. It is not speaking in words, but it is showing intent." The boy looked around, trying to understand the invisible signals she sensed. To him, the place was beautiful but confusing. Still, he trusted her. She had led them safely through every strange moment so far. "Which way?" he asked. She didn't think long. She pointed toward a curved path where the lights drifted more densely. "This way." They walked until the corridor opened into a large circular room. The moment they stepped inside, the door behind them faded into the wall, disappearing completely. The boy looked back in surprise. "Did it close?" he asked. "It changed," she corrected. "This room is testing us now." "Testing?" he repeated, a little uneasy. "Yes," she said calmly. "But it feels safe. This is a gentle test." The room filled with soft light. In the center stood a tall structure shaped like a tree made of glass. Its branches spread outward gracefully, each one carrying floating shapes, small cubes, spheres, and crystals of different colors. They rotated slowly above the branches, and faint patterns flickered inside them. The girl stepped forward. Her eyes scanned the shapes with silent focus. "What is this?" the boy whispered, standing beside her. "It is a choice," she said softly. "Choice of what?" She turned toward him. "The hall wants to know how we think. It wants to understand our intentions." The boy looked back at the floating shapes. "So, we pick one?" "Yes," she said. "But we pick honestly. It is not asking for skill, it is asking for truth." She reached her hand out. The crystals above the branches brightened slightly, reacting to her presence. The sphere-shaped ones trembled like they were eager, and the cube-shaped ones remained still. The shard-shaped crystals flickered like tiny stars. "What do we choose?" the boy asked again. The girl stepped closer to the tree of glass. Her crystal shard glowed in her hand, sending a faint line of light upward toward the shapes. After a moment, one shape, the small silver shard, glowed back in response. She touched it gently. The shard floated down, resting softly in her palm. The moment it touched her hand, a warm breeze moved through the room. The hall accepted her choice. The boy watched quietly. She turned to him. "Now you." He swallowed softly and stepped forward. His round crystal warmed, and the shapes above the branches shifted. For him, the sphere-shaped ones brightened. One in particular, a soft blue sphere, glowed warmer than the rest. He hesitated. "What if I choose wrong?" "There is no wrong," she said. "Only honest." The boy nodded slowly. He touched the blue sphere. It floated to his hand, light and warm like a small sun. The room responded again. A gentle sound echoed around them, soft and peaceful, like a note from an instrument. The glass tree dissolved slowly into the air, leaving only the two shapes in their hands. Then another door formed at the far end of the room. The girl looked at it carefully. "This is the true test," she said. The boy felt his heart beat faster. "What do you think we will face?" She looked at her silver shard, then at his glowing sphere. "Not danger. Something we must understand." They walked toward the door. As they approached, their two chosen shapes floated from their hands and merged together in the air. The shard and sphere spun around each other, forming a new symbol that shone with soft light. The door slid open quietly, welcoming them inside. Beyond it was a peaceful chamber shaped like a perfect circle. In the center, there was nothing but a thin beam of light rising from the floor to the ceiling. It pulsed softly, waiting. The girl stepped forward first. She stopped just before the beam. "This is the heart of the hall," she said. The boy stood beside her. "How do you know?" "It feels ancient," she whispered, "and patient." The beam expanded slowly, forming two figures made entirely of light. They had no faces, no features, only outlines. One resembled the girl's tall, slender shape. The other resembled the boy's smaller, gentle form. The figures moved toward them, stopping only a few steps away. The hall spoke, not with words, but with a feeling, warm, clear, and thoughtful. The girl understood it first. "It is asking us something." "What?" the boy asked softly. to show who we are." The figures shifted and opened their arms slightly. The girl took a deep breath and stepped forward. She bowed her head gently, a respectful gesture from her culture. The light figure bowed back. The boy watched, amazed. He stepped forward too and placed his hand over his heart. The second figure mirrored his gesture perfectly. The hall brightened, then dimmed softly like a slow breath. The light figures raised their hands and placed them gently over the heads of the girl and boy, not touching, just hovering above. A warm feeling flowed through them, clear and peaceful. The girl felt it first. The hall wasn't judging them. It was learning from them, learning their hopes, their fears, their strengths, and their choices. Not to control them, not to push them, only to understand. The boy felt it too. It was like standing in sunlight that carried meaning instead of heat. A message formed quietly in his mind. You are different, but you walk together. This place accepts you. Slowly, the figures faded. The beam of light shrank and returned to a thin line. The room fell into a calm silence. The girl opened her eyes. The boy did too. They looked at each other. It accepted us, she said softly. He nodded. Yes, and it gave us something. They felt it inside, an understanding that didn't need words. The hall trusted them. It believed they could walk farther than others, not because they were strong or special, but because they were willing to understand each other. The crystals they had chosen reappeared in their hands, glowing brighter now. The girl looked down at hers. These are not keys anymore, she said. They are guides. The boy smiled softly. So where do they guide us? She turned toward the new doorway that had opened behind them. Her crystal warmed, pointing in that direction. Forward, she said. He took a deep breath and stepped beside her. Together? He asked. She nodded gently. Always. And they walked into the next chamber, two young beings from two distant worlds, united not by strength but by understanding, carrying the trust of an ancient hall that had chosen them.